Assalamualaikum, my name is Muhammad Ridwan Shah bin Muhammad Ruzaini and I am the CEO.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Karina Shaira binti Kerumzi. I act as the Financial Manager 1.
Assalamualaikum everyone. I'm Iza Umaira and I'm the second financial manager.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Rajvi Mendrina Binti Raja Azman and I act as the shareholders of the company.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Ali Umaira Muhammad Yusof. I hold the character as bank representative.
Assalamualaikum. I'm Mimi, the shareholders of this company. Thank you for creating this meeting for me to ask in detail. May I know who can I talk to in asking about those financial analysis of the company? Because I'm quite shocked and disappointed to see the profitability ratios of the company. So can someone clarify in detail regarding all those ratios?
Waalaikumsalam, Miss Mimi. Thank you for your time and we are truly sorry for this mess. Regarding your said request, I will connect you with our financial manager to explain in detail about those ratios. Miss Karina, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. So first of all, may I ask for your permission for presenting the financial analysis?
Yes, Miss Karina.
Yes.
Okay. Let's start. So this is the financial analysis of Nasaruddin Ahmad Berhad. First of all, we can see that the liquidity ratio, which is the current ratio of Nasaruddin Ahmad Berhad, is lower than the IAR, which is 1.44 times. And for the quick ratio, the Nasaruddin Ahmad Berhad also lower than the IAR, which is 0.89 times. As for the asset management ratio, we can see that average collection period of the Nasaruddin Ahmad Berhad is higher than the IAR, which is 76.8 days. And for the inventory turnover, Nasaruddin Ahmad Berhad have lower than the IAR, which is 4.37 times. For the leverage ratio, the debt ratio of Nasaruddin Ahmad Berhad is higher than the IAR, which is 60.55%. And for the as for the times interest earned, Nasaruddin Ahmad Berhad is lower than the IAR, which is 3.06 times. As for the profitability ratio, the net profit margin is 6.38%, which is lower than the IAR. And for the return on asset, Nasaruddin Ahmad Berhad is also lower than the IAR, which is 5.52%. So for the further details, Ms. Iza, our another financial manager, will present to you guys to everyone in details in this financial analysis of Nasaruddin Ahmad Berhad.
Assalamualaikum everyone. I'm Iza and today I will be explaining further details on data that have been collected from Nasaruddin Ahmad Berhad. So first of all, for liquidity ratio, we can see that the company's current ratio is 1.44 times, which is lower than the industry average ratio. For its current ratio, it is 0.51 times lower compared to IAR, which is equivalent to 0.89 times. Overall, we can conclude that the company has come in terms lower than prescribed in the IAR, and it shows that the company might be having a hard time to meet its short-term obligation as the date comes closer. The next one is asset management ratio. The company stated that their average collection period is 78.6 days, which is higher than IAR with a difference of 37.8 days, while its inventory turnover is 4.37 times, 0.7 times lower than IAR. This concludes that the company has a long collection period and unable to manage their assets properly due to customers not paying on time. The company may also have problems in generating cash in the company to meet cash requirements. Besides that, The leverage ratio for this company is, firstly, debt ratio is higher than IAR, which is 60.55%. The time interest earned by the company is lower than IAR, which is 3.06 times. This indicates that the company may have higher financial risk due to increasing debts. However, lower time interest earned indicates that the company is able to pay its interest on time and avoid financial embarrassment. Last but not least is profitability ratio. This ratio shows that the company's net profit margin is 6.38%, which is 1.58 lower than IAR. Its return on asset also unfortunately is lower than IAR, which is 5.52%. This indicates that the company's growth and revenue production are slower than forecasted by IAR.
So how about the debt ratios?
So, hi Mr. Mimi and all the top management of Nasaruddin Ahmad Berhad. So, my name is Umaira, which is a local bank representative for this company. What a coincidence, as I was always also being invited in this meeting. So, Mrs. Mimi, so I think I can answer your question. So, to some extent, I noticed that leverage ratio give an induction of the Nasaruddin Ahmad Berhad effectiveness in financing decision and the measure of the firm propensity to use debt in financing its asset and its financial risk. While this leverage ratio refers to debt ratio and time interest earned, as what have been recorded here and what have been explained by both of financial managers, Nasaruddin Ahmad Berhad current debt ratio is 60.55% compared to industry average ratio is 44.1%. I can see here that the value of the debt ratio is quite high and risky. This is too bad for the company to have this kind of value, because to have stable financial background, company should have lower rate of debt ratio. I will do some hypothesis here that the lower rate of debt ratio would be better.
I see now the whole situation here. Based on what that has been clarified, I can see that this company indicates a lower net profit margin compared to the IAR. As a matter of fact, this means that the return is quite low, which this had negatively affect the growth prospect. Am I correct? Before I forgot, it also reveals that this company's ratios on the total on asset is lower than the industry average ratios, which means that the productivity of assets in producing profit is in its significance and also deficient in terms of the ability of this company to control costs in its operations. So how can I gain profits when this thing happen?
So to keep up with the mess, we are working and developing a new project next year. So we firmly believe that this firm can make a lot of profit in the upcoming years to maximize the shareholders' wealth and also profits. Thus, we will promise that we will keep this company as productive as we can. So I really hope that you can put your trust on us in these upcoming years, and in return, we will not make you disappointed again.
Okay then, I believe you. I hope this will be a great lesson to this company. By the way, thank you for those explanations and I hope to see a splendid result in the future.
Noted, Miss Mimi. Thank you again for still believing with Nasaruddin Ahmad Berhad.
Okay, sure.
Assalamualaikum and good morning everyone. Before we start our agenda, I would like to welcome our bank representative, Ms. Umaira from Maybank, and also to our shareholder, Ms. Mimi, for attending our online meeting today. Okay, without wasting time, let's proceed to our main agenda today, which is to apply loan for our upcoming project. So we believe that we are financially capable on applying the loan. But before we jump into the decisions, let us dive in detail regarding the financial ratios of the company. Ms. Ezra, you may now present the ratios.
Hi, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning everyone. I am Iza, one of the financial managers today. I would like to present to you the financial analysis of She Corporation. So firstly, for its current ratio, She Corporation has 5.36 times, which is higher than the industry average ratio, which is 4.99 times. For quick ratio, She Corporation is 1.44 times, higher also compared to industry average ratio. For its average collection period, She Corporation's average collection period is 22.04 days, which is slightly lower than industry average ratio. Its uh, its inventory turnover is 2.2 times, which is just 0.01 times lower than its industry average ratio. For debt ratio, She Corporation has 39.53% of debt ratio, which is higher than industry average ratio. For time interest earned, the company has 16.56 times, which is lower than industry average ratio. And the net profit margin is 31.15%, which is slightly lower than industry average ratio, which is 32%. And the last one is return on asset, which is 41.33%, slightly higher than industry average ratio, which is 40.99%. For more details, I shall pass it to my partner, Karina.
Thank you, Ms. Eza. So I will explain in detail and it's a bit specific on the She Corporation financial analysis. Okay, first of all, for the liquidity ratio, current ratio is slightly higher compared to the IAR, and also the quick ratio also is higher than the IAR. So we can conclude that the company, the She company, is better than IAR, and it shows that the company is able to meet its short-term obligation, which is very good for the company. And as for the asset management ratio, both ratio on average collection period and inventory turnover, both of these ratio have lower ratio compared to the IAR. This we can conclude that the company is better than IAR, and it shows that the company is able to manage the asset effectively to generate sales. And as for leverage ratio, that ratio is lower than the IAR, and the times interest earned of the She Corporation also is lower than the industry average ratio. As both of these leverage ratio, we can conclude that the company is moderate than the industry average ratio, and it shows that the company is moderately can manage their debt to generate profit, which is also good. It is not bad for the company, and it also not really good for the company. As for the profitability ratio, as the net profit margin, She Corporation has slightly lower IAR, slightly lower ratio compared to the IAR. And as for return on asset, She Corporation has higher ratio compared to the IAR. Here we can conclude that the company is moderate than IAR, and also it shows that the company moderately can manage their debt to generate their profit. That's all from me.
Thank you, Ms. Eza and Ms. Karina, for the explanation. So for our local bank representative, Ms. Umay, what is your views on this?
Thank you so much, Mr. Ridwan. So, based on the data that have been read by Mrs. Eza as financial manager, and also the detail of the data that have been read by Mrs. Karina as financial manager, so I noticed that the leverage ratio gives an inductions of this She Corporation effectiveness in financial decision, and the measure of the firm's capacity to use debt in financing its asset and its financial risk. While this leverage ratio refers to debt ratio and time interest earned. As what have been recorded here, She Corporation current debt ratio is 39.53% compared to industry average ratio is 45%. So the differences here is little bit different. So it is 5.47% only. So I can see here that the value of the debt ratio is quite high and risky. So this is too bad for the company to have this kind of value, because to have stable financial background, company should have a lower rate of debt ratio. And I would do some hypothesis here that the lower rate of debt ratio would be better. So as conclusion, I don't suggest that this company to have loan, since the rate of current debt is high, and it just have a little difference compared to IAR. So I don't suggest this company to have a loan. So this to avoid the company to be risk or winding up.
Before we make the decision, may I describe my own views as a shareholder?
Sure, you may proceed, Mimi.
Okay, according to the explanation, She Corporation indicates lower net profit margin, which slightly differ compared to the standard set in the industrial average ratios. In accord with, this conveys the return a bit lesser, which this will affect the growth prospect of the company, with slightly negative. On the other hand, the return on total assets shows that this company's ratio exceeded the industrial average ratio without question. This indicates that the productivity of assets in producing profit is slightly good, and this company can control the cost in its operation. So, but somehow, in my opinion, I quite disagree with the decision to apply the loan, because I believe that this company is still unstable in terms of profits and return, which applying loans might lessen the profits of the company in future.
Thank you everyone for those useful explanation. So based on the clarification and data that has been provided by all of you, I think we shall not proceed in applying the loan.